a Wikividi Documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Brian Christopher. Brian Christopher Lawler was an American professional wrestler. He was the son of professional wrestler Jerry Lawler and brother of wrestling referee Kevin Christian. He was best known for his career in the World Wrestling Federation, where he performed as Brian Christopher and Grandmaster Sexay. Lawler was a one-time WWF Tag Team Champion as part of Too Cool with Scotty 2 Hotty, and won 44 titles within the United States Wrestling Association. United States Wrestling Association, 1988-1997. Lawler began his career as one half of the masked tag team, The Twilight Zone, with Tony Williams under the individual ring names of Nebula and Quasar. After they were unmasked, Brian continued to wrestle in the United States Wrestling Association under the name, Too Sexy, Brian Christopher. He feuded with wrestlers such as Jeff Jarrett, Bill Dundee, Tom Pritchard, and the Moondogs, and his father Jerry Lawler. Among his partners were Tony Williams, Doug Gilbert, Scotty Flamingo, and, Hot Stuff, Eddie Gilbert. World Wrestling Federation, 1997-2001. Lawler, still known as Brian Christopher, joined the World Wrestling Federation in 1997 and began competing in the light heavyweight division. Takamichi Noku defeated him in the finals of a tournament for the light heavyweight championship. In mid-1998, he started teaming up with Scott, Too Hot, Taylor to form the tag team Too Much. When he was known as Brian Christopher, his father Jerry Lawler would talk him up as being superior to all the other light heavyweights, but never publicly acknowledged that Brian was his son, although after Paul Heyman revealed that fact on Raw, Jim Ross always hinted at it. Often a running joke was that someone would mention their relationship, which led to both of them adamantly denying that they were related. On the June 13, 1999, episode of Heat, Brian and Scott adopted the ring names Grandmaster Sexay and Scotty 2 Hotty, returning after a hiatus. Their tag team was renamed Too Cool, and they were later joined by Rikishi. They defeated Edge and Christian in May 2000 on Raw to become the tag team champions. They were even occasionally involved with top card feuds, notably being enemies to the McMahon-Helmsley faction and their associates, such as the Radicals, Edge, and Christian, and T&A. The trio's run ended in late 2000 when Rikishi was revealed as the man behind the wheel of the car that hit Stone Cold Steve Austin at Survivor Series. Shortly after, Rikishi turned on his teammates. While Scotty was sidelined in 2001 with a broken ankle, Lawler formed a short-lived tag team with Steve Blackman and was later released from the company for illegally conveying drugs across the Canada-United States border. Later career, 2002-2011. On February 24, 2002, at the second World Wrestling All-Stars pay-per-view in Las Vegas, Lawler wrestled WWA Heavyweight Champion Jeff Jarrett for the title, but lost. In April 2002, Lawler wrestled in a fatal four-way match for the championship at a house show, but lost to Nathan Jones, Scott Steiner, and Jarrett. From June 2002 until April 2004, he worked for Total Nonstop Action Wrestling as Brian Lawler. He formed a group called Next Generation with fellow second-generation stars David Flair and Eric Watts. They were involved in a rivalry with Dusty Rhodes and harassed him with a replica of the NWA World title belt that he wore when he was champion. In April 2004, Lawler was signed back to the WWE roster as Jim Ross' last act as head of WWE Talent Relations. He only appeared in 4 matches, against Kane, Wavell Star, Christian, and Garrison Cade. He was later released after only 1 month with the company after John Laurinaitis took over as head of WWE Talent Relations. Prior to his release, Lawler was scheduled to take part in a battle royal for the #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship, but he was replaced by Maven. After his departure from WWE, Lawler wrestled for several independent promotions, including Memphis Wrestling and UWF Live. Christopher usually worked with his teammates Rikishi and Scotty 2 Hotty, making several reunions of Too Cool. Sporadic WWE appearances, 2011, 2014. On the March 14, 2011 episode of Raw, Lawler returned to the WWE as a heel in a segment between Michael Cole and his father, Jerry Lawler, where Bryan would side with Cole, saying that he felt that Jerry never cared for him and that he was ashamed to be his son. Lawler indirectly agreed, telling Bryan that he was a bigger screw-up than Charlie Sheen. Lawler returned to the WWE on January 6, 2014, appearing on the Old School edition of Raw and reuniting with Rikishi and Scotty 2 Hotty for what would be the final time, to take on 3 Megabytes in a 6-man tag team match. His team was successful in winning. He made what would be his final WWE appearance on NXT Arrival in February 2014 as part of Too Cool in a losing effort as mystery opponents to the Ascension, who defended their NXT Tag Team Championship. Personal life. Lawler was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, in stark contrast to his father, a die-hard Cleveland Browns fan. According to his brother Kevin, Lawler will be buried in a Steelers-themed casket with his ring name. Lawler was arrested in February 2009 for disorderly conduct. On June 26, 2009, he was arrested for public intoxication just before 3 a.m. according to the police report. He became very belligerent once in custody and threatened the police officer who arrested him. On July 13, 2009, he was jailed for 30 days after failing to attend an inpatient treatment center as part of his plea agreement. Death. In early July 2018, Lawler was again arrested and jailed for driving under the influence and for evading police. On the early morning of July 29, 2018, Lawler was found hanging in a cell at the Hardeman County Jail and was observed to be brain dead. His life support was disabled after his father Jerry Lawler had arrived to the hospital to bid his farewell. Lawler was pronounced dead at around 4:40 p.m. EST at the age of 46. Brought to you by Wikividi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?